Bama Nation, we are in the dawn of a new era. Life of Crimson Tide football after Nick Saban begins today. Kalen Deboer, your new head coach, your 28th head coach for the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. Pen has been put to paper. The contract has been signed. The long wait is over. Kalen Deboer, your new head coach, is expected to arrive at the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport at about 8:27 p.m. He's expected to have an introductory press conference tomorrow at 1 p.m. As he's introduced in as your new head football coach for Bama football. You're rocking and rolling right now on the hottest show in the streets on Friday, TGIF edition of the show. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Happy to have you guys in here. We bring you the show from the magic city of Birmingham. We stream this to you through YouTube. Speaking of a channel, you know what time it is. A new head coach for Bama. We're still, in my own words, bringing you nonstop Bama. You hit that subscribe button. You get locked in, locked on to all of your Bama content right now. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. Give us that thumbs up. Show us the love. Tap the like button. Appreciate all of you guys. The daily Super Chat go $100. Daily Super Chat go $100 right there. We appreciate that from you. We want to hear from all of you tonight. Do you love the hire? Do you not like it? Are you indifferent about it? The future of Tide football. Line us up with your phone calls, 205-448-1358. And I'm going to call in to let your voice be made known, 205-448-1358. One more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you. Gotta show some love to my man, Bill! Bill from New York dropping the $5 donation in the bucket. Helping us out right there. Without further ado, John, let's get into the conversation. It happened today, people. It happened. We were waiting for it. When was Greg Byrne going to make the hire official? When was the hire going to be made known for Alabama's new head football coach to push us into the post-Nick Saban era? That happened today as a new man is taking us into a new era of Alabama football. That new man, Kalen Deboer, 49 years of age, leaving Washington to become the next head coach of the Alabama football Crimson Tide, the 28th head coach in Alabama football history. The job, the master class of a job done. Greg Byrne with Nick Saban and the godfather of college football, Jimmy Sexton, working behind the scenes. Jimmy Sexton, who represents just about everybody in college football. The three-headed trio of Byrne, Saban, and Sexton getting this done. Greg Byrne going to the Pac-12 and pulling a coach from Washington to come to Alabama to kick off this post-Nick Saban era for the Crimson Tide. This is huge as Kalen Deboer, taking over for one Nick Saban, succeeding Nick Saban in now coaching Alabama, coaching the Crimson Tide. Pen was put to paper today. Contract was today. The agreement was today. And it was crazy how Deboer was supposed to have had an interview with the Seattle radio station. He canceled the interview. And so once he canceled that interview, I kind of knew something was up there. Remember, guys, on Wednesday's show, Kalen Deboer was the final name I mentioned to you guys. Watch him. I was told by several of my close sources deep within the program, Steven, this Kalen Deboer, keep your eyes on him. He's a name to watch. And how quickly did this guy go from a wild card, a possibility, to a hot name, and now the name that's taken the job, so much has happened. Dan Lanning, you thought, but he stays in Oregon. Mike Norvell, you thought, Florida State gives him a bigger deal. Steve Sarkisian, we thought, bigger deal than from Texas. And then other people just started backing out. But Jimmy Sexton, working the magic, getting clients paid, and then his client, Kalen Deboer, walks out of here with the job as Alabama's head football coach to push us into the post-Nick Saban era. So we're going to learn something here about Coach Deboer right now as his credentials are on screen. So Kalen Deboer, 49 years of age. Here is a guy that is a native of South Dakota. So South Dakota native, 49 years old. He's made a difference at every program he's been at. Deboer has been a winner wherever he's been at. He's been a culture changer, a culture starter, tough-minded, offensive-oriented, but wherever he's gone, fiery, strong recruiter, wherever he's gone, he's won it. Whether it was at an NAIA program like Sioux Falls and Deboer there, a three-time NAIA champion at Sioux Falls. Then he goes to Fresno State, has a lot of success there with the Bulldogs in the Western Athletic Conference, and then he goes to Washington. Before he got to Washington in 2022, the Huskies were an absolute train wreck. They were 4-8 in 2021. Deboer gets there in 2022 and turned that thing around fast. We're talking 25-3 as a head coach in 2 years. We're talking this past season, 14-1, wins the Pac-12 championship, got Washington back into the college football playoff for the first time since 2016, got it in the college football playoff national championship game. This is Kalen Deboer, but has produced a two-time 4,000-yard quarterback in Michael Penix Jr., who will get drafted to play pro ball. He produced a 1,000-yard back last year, produced two 1,000-yard receivers. I mean, Washington, very, very, very good offensive team just a season ago and throughout for 2 years under Kalen Deboer. So he's a long-time offensive mind. But here's a guy that worked his way up from wide receivers coach to quarterback coach to offensive coordinator, head coach. He's worked his way through the ranks as an offensive mind, one of the most skilled guys out there. And I know people thought Dan Lanning, I know people thought Steve Sarkisian. Here's a guy in Kalen Deboer who's beaten both of them. He beat Dan Lanning twice. Very hard to beat a coach twice. Kalen Deboer beat Dan Lanning twice. Kalen Deboer beat Steve Sarkisian in the CFP semifinal matchup, that being the Sugar Bowl there between Washington and Texas. So Deboer, real deal here. Offensive mind, very good recruiter, has risen his way through the ranks, and he's been able to do a lot with a little. He's been able to produce a lot with a little. So it's going to be fun to see what he does here in terms of Alabama football. Now, for me personally, on paper, if you're Greg Byrne, the first part of this thing, good job. Strong job. Good hire. Now, of course, as Alabama fans, you guys, I myself as an Alabama football consumer, we want to see the product come to fruition on the field. We do. On paper, it looks good. On paper, it looks nice. And yes, Nick Saban had a hand in this hire. So for a lot of us that say, if Saban had a hand in it, trust Coach Saban, he had a hand in it. Absolutely. But at the same time, it's once we get this brother on the field, let's see what this product can produce here. The big thing is we know college football has transitioned to an offensive game. He's an offensive mind, Kalen Deboer. This is going to be very nice here, what we could get. So did Greg Byrne make the right move? On paper, yes. On paper, home run. On paper, big time. But for us that study the game of football, We want to see when it gets on the field, how does it work on the field? Because it's one thing to coach at Washington. It's one thing to coach at Fresno State. It's a whole different ball game when you come to the SEC. It's a whole different ball game when you come to the Southeastern Conference. Most importantly, it's a whole different ball game when you come to the University of Alabama, the place where legends are made, the Crimson Tide. And it's a whole other ball game when you accept the responsibility to come directly behind the legend in Nick Saban. So, big shoes here for Kalen Deboer to fill. I think it's a good hire. I think it's a strong move. I'm going to use a word I've never used before. I think it is an exquisite hire. But it's going to come down to, once we get this man on the field, how does it turn out on the field? How does it turn out recruiting? How does it turn out developing? How does it turn out coaching? How does it turn out on the field? But the dawn of a new era has started. Kalen Deboer is your new head coach for Alabama football. We're going to take our first break here. People, don't touch that dial. When we get back, I want to hear from you. What are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about this? I want your energy. I want your passion. I want it right after this.
I'm Malachi Moore, and you're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith on Touchdown Alabama YouTube channel.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
And we are back into the action here, folks, from the break. Number one ticket for your Bama football news. In my own word, George truly, Stephen Smith, TDA, Kalen Deboer, your new head coach for Alabama football, coming over from Washington. Deboer has now released a statement on social media, happy about being a part of the Alabama football program. Caleb Odom, four-star tight end for Bama, ready to get to work with Deboer. Malachi Moore, defensive back who chose to return for a fifth year. He's excited to work with Deboer. Now the players pumped up for this opportunity right here. But what do you feel like as the fans? We're going to get to your phone calls. We got to show some love to my man, J.D. Long, one time for that $9.99. Dropping that in the Super Chats. Appreciate that from J.D. We go to the phone lines to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in, 205-448-1358. You're live on the show. What's happening, how we feel, and state your name and where you calling from.
How you doing, Steve? This is Nicholas Johnson from Mobile, Alabama. How you doing?
Nicholas, doing well, man. Dawn of a new era for Alabama football. How are you?
I'm a lot better, man. I mean, as you know, the past couple of days have been pretty rough. But today, I've got some good news. Of course, Kalen Deboer, new head coach, so I'm doing pretty good, man.
Kalen Deboer in here. I know a lot of people don't know much about him. Of course, like I said, 49 years of age. He's been a winner wherever he has gone, in every program he's gone. He turned Washington around extremely fast. And it's almost like, remember when Coach Saban first got to Alabama? 2007 was kind of rough there. 2008, things started trending forward. In 2009, you win the championship. It's kind of like Deboer at Washington. 2021 was a train wreck. 2022, he gets them to 11 wins. This past season, they win the Pac-12. They're back in the college football playoff. So kind of similar there to Nick Saban in a way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, every program he's been to, he's made them a winner. And you got to think about of course, this modern day college football is very offensive heavy. So the fact we got an offensive-minded head coach, like, is very well advantaged. And if you're thinking about it, like, I'm interested to see the staff and how, like, him and Greg Byrne work out the staff, because his OC, I believe his name is Ryan Grubb. He's pretty helpful in the offenses. And then, of course, the O-line, I think that actually did with the Joe Moore Award.
They did.
Award. So I'm thinking, like, do we got to bring their O-line coach in? Because I know you've been very vocal about Eric Wolford not being the best for offensive line this year. So I'm just very interested to see how this staff is going to shape up. But, of course, for the defense side, I'm hoping and praying that we bring back T-Rob, because I just feel like he'll be a great defense coordinator. What do you think?
I look at Nicholas. This is the next big move. The first big move by Greg Byrne, you got the coach in here. Now the next move is who do you have for Deboer to bring in from his staff from Washington, and who do you keep that's on the current staff? Now, if Deboer is talking about bringing in his offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, O-line coach, then this is about to get real interesting. It's going to get real if he brings that staff in there with him. Now, as far as defense is concerned, the number one name, and Alabama knows this, but number one name they're trying to make sure they keep under contract is T-Rob. They're going to try to bump up Travaris Robinson to D.C., still have him coach the secondary, but bump him up to D.C. because T-Rob, not just the coach and the developer that he is, which he's done a phenomenal job with that, but T-Rob's the main guy keeping these recruiting classes together right now. So You got to keep that brother on staff. You got to. So I think that's the first name you got to keep under contract. Now, when you look at Freddie Roach and guys like Robert Gillespie and others, how many of those guys do you keep on staff? We will see, and I'll get into that topic later on here in the show. But the very next move here for Greg Byrne is going to be, who do you keep on staff currently, and how many people does Deboer bring in with him from Washington?
Right. Now, also, I want to get your opinion on this. I've been seeing this go around, but I'm not sure if you've seen this. But, of course, with Coach Saban, like, how can you honor the GOAT, like the greatest of all time? And if you look at other colleges, like with Duke, Coach K, they gave him the court. If you look at Florida, they gave Steve Spurrier the field. So how do you feel about Bryant-Denny Stadium and Nick Saban Field? How do you think that sounds?
I've actually I've thought about this so much. I've actually thought about it being Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I've thought about that the whole time. Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny. I thought about naming some of the buildings or a building on campus after him. I thought about the Players Complex, Nick Saban Athletic Complex, or Nick Saban Players Complex. I've had so many thoughts going through my mind these last couple of days of what buildings can you take to honor Coach Saban with, or do you make it Nick Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium?
Yeah, of course. And don't forget, we just got to get that statue from Miss Tigger. But I appreciate the call, man. Love the show.
Absolutely. Nicholas from Mobile calling in to start us off on a Friday. We're going to grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening, how we feel, and state your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steven. This is Corey from Trustful. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Corey. I know a lot of people are at the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport waiting on the plane that carries Kalen Deboer to touchdown.
Well, I'm very excited about this hire. You couldn't have asked for probably a better hire to get. There's a few things I want to run by here. One, do you think there's still the possibility that we can get Ryan Williams back and probably Isaiah Bond back as our wide receivers?
So Corey, I look at this. There's a legit shot to get Ryan Williams back. What Kalen Deboer has done with wide receivers at Washington's been big time, and I feel like with this being the hire, I feel like Alabama's got a legit shot to get Ryan Williams back on board for this 2024 class. Now, for Isaiah Bond, that may be a bit tougher, seeing how he's visiting Texas this weekend, visiting Steve Sarkisian. That may be harder. So I think the easier route would be getting Ryan Williams back on board.
Do you think, like we've all seen Kalen Deboer do well offensively. How do you feel about him on defense? Because I didn't watch Pac-12 football a lot, but defensively is not the strongest thing in the Pac-12. How do you think he will adjust defensively in the SEC?
I feel like the number one thing here, Corey, for that's going to be you're going to have to bump up T-Rob, the defensive coordinator. Travaris Robinson's already at Alabama. He's already on the coaching staff. He's been around a couple of years now. You're going to have to bump up T-Rob. T-Rob has DC experience coming from South Carolina. He did that from 2016 to 2020. It's time to bump up T-Rob. He's been great with the secondary. He's a guy that everybody in that building respects right now. He's the one that's keeping a lot of these recruits together, a lot of his team together. So if you're Greg Byrne, that's the name you bump up to DC, you bump up T-Rob.
And last thing I'll say here, with no matter who stays and who goes from the roster, would you agree the expectation doesn't change is competing for a national title this year? Because we still got the talent to do it. I mean, yes, I know even before Saban retired, there were some players that were going to be pushed out due to the over-limited roster players. But because some of the players transferred out because of Saban retiring, don't you agree we still got enough pieces and talent to compete for a national title? Because this is a great hire that we got, and the expectation is still the same. Just maybe not the same clip that Saban did, but still got the talent to compete for a national title, as the standard still is always at Alabama.
Corey, when you look at this Alabama roster, this will be arguably, if not the best, this will arguably be the best roster in college football for 2024. When you look at, you're bringing back offensively 3 of your offensive linemen. You're bringing back 3 of your top 5 running backs from last year. You're bringing back 4 quarterbacks on the roster. You're bringing back all of your tight ends except one. So offensively, you're going to have one of the best rosters, if not the best roster in college football. Defensively, you got your top linebacker back in Deontay Lawson. You got Malachi Moore back. You got, yes, you lost Justin Boyd on the defensive line, but you got several defensive linemen coming back. I think honestly, yes, the schedule's going to be tough with Oklahoma and Texas coming in here, and you got the 12-team playoff, but just the roster itself, Corey, you're looking at a national championship roster.
Yeah, I agree. And with having Georgia, having a bye before Georgia and before LSU, and having the Iron Bowl at home is a big deal. And with the 12-team playoff, you can afford to take a loss or two because – and I'm not saying that you want to do that, but you have a little more room for error. That way, you're not sweating it out coming the week of the playoff selection.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun, Corey, and it's going to all start in the A-Day game coming up, but also tomorrow when Kalen Deboer has his introductory press conference, 1 p.m. on tomorrow. Appreciate Corey from Trustville with this call right there. We take this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Randy. I'm calling from L.A.
Randy, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I like the hire. You know, I just want to talk about what I admire about both men because Caleb DeBoer, he probably could have got the same salary at Washington and just lived his life, you know, being, you know, a big fish in I'd say a small pond. But, like, when you go to Alabama, he wanted this. Like, you know, he wants the spotlight. He wants the challenge. And I like that about him, you know. So I look forward to it. You know, I think Isaiah Bond really needs to think about, you know, transferring because, you know, some of these kids, they just don't understand. Like, you want to be able to leave your school and then come back and still be treated respectfully and just beloved. And Isaiah Bond is a legend right now just because of that one play. So if he comes back, you know, he accepts the challenge and he puts on a good year, it's probably going to be a more pass-friendly offense. You know, he's going to be treated like a god for the rest of his life probably in Alabama, you know, in Tuscaloosa. So, you know, I just hope he rethinks that, you know. And what I admire about Saban is, like, I used to criticize him for this because I felt like, with his hires, he never hired, like, he never went to the NFL and just picked out coordinators and just said, here, you guys run the team. Let me just worry about recruiting. He wanted to control everything. And the moment he couldn't do that and he realized he couldn't do that, you know, he walked away, and you just got to respect that. And that's what I admire about him. Like, he could have just sat back, let younger people run the team, kind of like Joe Paterno did a little bit, and just, you know, live like a king. But now, you know, he gets to enjoy his life, and he's still a champion forever. So, you know, I just respect him, and I wish him the best in his endeavors, and I hope he just, you know, enjoys, you know, retirement.
Absolutely. Appreciate Randy calling in from L.A., giving us his thoughts on the show on a Friday. We're going to grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening, how we feel, and state your name and where you calling from.
Hey, what's going on, Steve? This is Tobias out in Fresno.
Tobias, brother, man, how we feeling right now?
Man, I'm so excited. I don't know what to do, man. Sorry, I haven't been able to look at the shows and nothing like that, man. I just kind of scrolled through YouTube, man, after we lost, you know, and the way that went down, because we really should have won that game, had a chance to win that game. It was against a great team. Congrats to Michigan, but I still felt like, man, Michigan must have been a team of destiny for us to go in that game. We made a lot of mistakes, but we have been saying that all year long, and, you know, really, what made that even worse was the fact that we had talked about it all year long about, you know, that kid, he transferred out, he's going to Ohio State. You know, it was a bad snapping all year long. So it was all that kind of stuff. So man, you down. Then you're like, well, okay. You look at the next game and boom, Washington puts it on Texas. And what was crazy about that game too, Steve, is that the narrative was all about Texas and how Washington wasn't going to be able to stand up to that big D line and all of that kind of stuff. But what did Washington do? They controlled the game. They almost lost it at the end with a few bad mistakes. But when you really look at how that game was played, it was a clean game. The scheme is tight. Wasn't a lot of mistakes until like the end, like I said. Then when you watch the national championship game, the first series, Steve, I don't know about you, but I was like, oh, Lord, is this going to be another TCU scenario? Because Michigan just marched right down the field. I realized that Michigan was going to be bigger than them, you know, up front. But, man, I'm looking at good coaching it because they was down like 17-3. And then all of a sudden, you know, Penix couldn't get it together, a few overthrows. But I was just impressed with the way they played that game. Even the way their defense, which was much smaller and less athletic than Michigan's team, how they fought. And I'm like, man, this guy, I already knew he was good because, you know, I'm out here in Fresno. So what he did at Fresno State, everyone down south and back east, hey, you got Deboer, you have a coach. And I'm hoping that the Alabama nation don't start that foolishness like Florida and these other places complaining, all that crying and all. Stop it. So accept this man, pump him up. Don't say nothing stupid on these boards. Create the atmosphere where all these kids want to be in Bama. But anyway, when I was worried about the hire because they was talking about that dude in Florida State, and I was like, no way. That man don't have the social and emotional capacity to lead nothing. And so I was really worried about that. I know we was talking about Kiffin, but I knew Kiffin had burnt his bridges to be able to come back to Bama. So it was, you know, kind of looking at that. But, man, when they said Deboer, I said, man, we have a real coach. So I'm just letting everyone know. I mean, I'm excited about it. I am concerned. One little concern, Steve, and you kind of mentioned it, is going to be in the recruiting. Because we will keep our pipeline to California. Because I'm telling y'all, every great quarterback in California, we got an open pipeline. We already had with Bryce Young. We had it in Hawaii. We have an open pipeline because Washington regularly recruits the Samoan nation. You know what I'm saying? And all things Pacific Islander. So now we have that pipeline opened up as well. but I'm worried about the South, and so hopefully Tavares can stay on. I know a coach has a right to bring in whoever he wants, but it's just not wise not to have someone on actually he needs a few people, Steve, I think you would agree with that. He needs to have 2, 3, 4 people, whether they analysts or coaches, who can recruit the South and the East, and of course try to create pipelines in the Big Ten areas as well. Last thing, I'm so happy to have lived and seen the legacy of Coach Saban. So, man, because earlier, man, like I told you earlier this week after the championship game, I'm all sad. I'm like, oh, man, what we going to do? Now we got to go through a whole off season. I'm going to have to depend on Steve to come up with some content and the other guy who runs the other Bama station. I said, man, this is going to be a long off season. And then Coach stepped away. I said, what? That's fake. That's fake news. That ain't real. I was like, no, ain't no way. And they said, yeah, it's real. So I was like, oh, man. So then it was like crushing, man. But this hire, I'm feeling so good right now. Nick Saban, greatest of all time. I just love listening to him talk ball and just talk his logic, man. They need to make him the czar. And I think what's going to happen is he's going to serve like interference for Deboer. He's going to connect him with all the donors, all the people that he needs to. The fact that Saban going to have an office there, I think that's a plus for Deboer, because Saban is not going to be trying to run your team. I don't see that in him. He's going to let you run your team. However, you have the best coach of all times right upstairs that you can go to at any time and navigate some of the waters that happen in the South. And so I think, by the way, last thing, we talk about NIL. Nick Saban could drop $10 million into an NIL. So we're not going to be worried about NIL money or nothing like that. I think that what Saban's going to probably do is kind of be like a manager. I think one of the other callers said that I not a manager on the team, but, just out there and kind of creating kind of a new way to do college football. He's going to be out there getting the donors, getting the support, keeping that legacy alive. I agree with the last caller about the kid that jumped into the portal. He needs to jump right back out of that portal. He is a legend. And I think while we talk about the stadium names for Nick Saban, they had a name. They can name everything after him. They should. But here's the other thing. Last thing, and I get off the phone, and I dropped $50 in too. So I'll encourage everybody to donate. But here's the thing. Terry Saban, she needs a statue. She needs something.
Amen. Yes.
That lady is amazing, man. And what she brings, she's been an example of they've just been a power couple. So I just want to say that, man. Anyway, I'll get off the phone and I enjoy your show, man. Thanks for giving me a chance to get on here and vent, man, because I've been sad for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know what I'm saying, trying to do all of the community work that I do here in Fresno, but just sad because of everything that's going on, and this has made me glad. And I got to say, roll tide.
Appreciate my man Tobias calling in from Fresno. Before we jump back into calls, we got some super chats to roll out. So, John, here we go. We got Norris Jackson. Norris Jackson at 9.99. Dropping that in the bucket there. Behind Norris Jackson, let's see, we got Nicholas Johnson with the $9.99, pumping that love in there. And then we got my brother that just called, Tobias from Fresno, with the 50-piece. He steps in there. Nicholas Johnson comes back with the $4.99 in the super chats. Appreciate that there from Nicholas. And then, oh man, we got Sweet Home Bama. Sweet Home Bama with that $10 donation. Pip walking that in there, Sweet Home Bama. And that's it right there. The daily super chat goal of $100 has been met. Appreciate all of you. The Bama Nation. All that support right there. We now jump back into the calls. You're live on the show. What's happening, how we feel, and state your name and where you're calling from. You're live on the show, caller.
Hi, Steven. How you doing, man? Bill from New York.
Bill, what's going on, man? How we feeling, man?
Well, I'm a little less depressed, and I want to thank you because, it just hasn't been great. The thing is, like Tobias touched on it. We're going to look back on this as a part of our lives that's gone. I mean, and it was so much fun, and that thing with this hire, I'm okay with it now after hearing you. Thing is, like, Sark was my choice, but I knew there was no way. But Sark, I can still see that Ohio State game with all those motions and Najee jumping into the end zone. The guy's a genius. But look, man, I mean, Sexton went down there. They probably opened up another oil well and gave Sark a raise in order to stay. And this guy, the main thing I hope about the Bear is I hope he has personality. I learned a long time ago in life that you can't put a price on originality. And, even Kiffin, I know he's crazy, but, he's like, he definitely has personality. If this guy has it, he sure has the credentials. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, he is going from to a different kind of offensive attack. He had panics and everything. It's going to be a little different. Milroe's a different kind of quarterback. But I'm going to say, when you were talking about all the areas we're going to improve, I think quarterback's going to improve too. I can't see Milroe getting worse. It's his fourth year. He's older. He's experienced. He's played in the title game. Simpson has to be better, just having been there longer. And they got this kid coming up. So they're really deep in the quarterback room. And I think that alone gives us a chance, don't you?
I think so. I think so, Bill. I absolutely think that. And then you look at you're returning three of your offensive linemen from last year. You got Jaden Roberts back. You'll have Tyler Booker back. You'll have Elijah Pritchett back. Now, of course, you're going to have to find your center, which, Bama's got James Brockermeyer who can do that. Bama recently brought over a guy from the transfer portal from Texas A&M, so they'll have a time finding out who the next center will be. But you got three of your offensive linemen back. You got three of your running backs back with J.M. Miller, Justice Haynes, Richard Young. You got receivers back. You got tight ends back. So just on paper, offensively, this is going to be a phenomenal roster that Kalen Deboer walks into. The main thing is just getting Ryan Williams, 5-star wide receiver commit, back on board, which I think Deboer will be able to do that.
That'd be great. And I heard an interesting thing Saban said on that ESPN interview, that he was basically putting like so much time into the defense that he wished he could have put more time into other units. So, I mean, like you said, the Robinson would be good to have a defensive coordinator like that. We'll see, Steven. Listen, even if we're horrible, you know what I mean? I'm just a Tide fan for the rest of my life. And thanks for making me feel better. Like I always tell you, you have the best show. It's not even close. I wish it was close. I'd watch a few more shows. Nah, yours is the best. God bless and roll Tide.
Appreciate Bill from New York calling in here on a Friday, giving his thoughts on the show. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, how's it going, Steve? Isaac from Mobile.
Isaac, man, dawn of a new era. We're about to see the plane that carries Kalen Deboer touchdown in Tuscaloosa. What are your thoughts?
I like it. I like it. I'm not going to act like I know a lot about the man. I don't. But from what I've seen, I think the guy from Fresno, he gave a great perspective on the new coach. But, I see some fans, they not, they talking about recruiting and this and that. But I feel like that's why Nick is hanging around.
Right.
You got to understand that Nick is going to, and I heard somebody say this, I think the same guy said this, Nick is going to show him the ropes. This is how they do it in the South. Not tell him what to do, but, advise him. This, right? So I think that we can find comfort in that. If Nick would have retired and went to Florida, went to his house in Florida, then it would have been like, oh my God. But the fact that he's hanging around and he's telling you he'll be around, he's gonna mentor. Well, basically letting you know he's gonna mentor the new coach and all that. So I think we good. I don't think we have nothing to worry about. And as far as the other coaches like Lane and Sark, I want to say this: with the transfer portal, it's making it easier for a coach to be able to build his own thing and make him want to stay. You got to think about it. Lane Kiffin just went 10-2 last year. He got the number 3 something transfer portal class this year. Man, with that schedule, Lane Kiffin can go 11-1, 12-0 this upcoming season. So coaches don't have to leave necessarily to go to a bigger program. They can be the king of their own castle because of the new landscape of college football. You get what I mean?
Good point there. Good point.
And like Mike Norvell, Steve, I'm gonna tell you something about Mike Norvell. Any coach that a player can hop in the transfer portal for the bowl game, commit to another school, and then come back, any coach that allows that, I do not want that coach coaching my team. And if you want to know who I'm referencing to, DJ Lundy. Y'all look it up. The linebacker that plays for Florida State, look it up. But anyway, moving on. Isaiah Bond, I just wish he would have waited, Steve. I just wish he would have just waited. Just wait. Just see who the coach is going to. Didn't he transfer? Didn't he hop in the portal before the announcement, or was it after?
He hopped in the portal before the announcement, hours before.
Yeah, just wait, man. Because, hey, Steve, I'm going to tell you, if I'm a wide receiver and I see that this is the coach, and I look at what Rome Odunze just did, Steve, I'm rubbing my hands like Bird, man. I ain't going nowhere.
For real.
What Odunze just did at Washington, why would I leave? I got I got an offensive-minded coach. That's just like the DBs that come to Bama for who? Nick Saban, right?
Right.
So I hope he's staying, but he should have just waited. Just wait, Isaiah. Just hold on a minute. But I think Ryan is a good shot. We can get him back because I really believe Ryan loves Alabama. But you can't blame a kid for taking a step back. The head coach retire, wide receiver coach leave. You can't blame him for saying, "Hold on a second, let me analyze what's going on." But I really do think Ryan loves Alabama, so I think it's a good shot that we can get Ryan, and I hope we do. But I'm excited, man. If he can get some more out of Milroe or whoever it is, if it's not Milroe, Julian Sand or Ty Simpson, whoever the best man is. But I'm excited for what the offense can look like, and I believe, I'm sure he's smart enough to know in order to keep this team intact, you got to keep some of your assistants. You can't come in there and clean house, or you gonna have mass exodus on your team. So I believe, he's smart enough to know I need to keep T-Rob. I probably need to keep Robert Balla. I probably need to keep, a couple of these coaches around, because if not, your team's gonna be in shambles. So I think he's gonna do that, and I think we'll be good. I think the future is bright. He's not gonna be Nick Saban. Don't put that expectation on him. There's probably never gonna be another Nick Saban. The closest person to Nick Saban, who in my opinion is Kirby Smart, probably won't win 6 championships. I don't think that's ever gonna happen ever again. So just let the man be who he is. Don't try to make him Coach Saban, and I think we'll be good. But I'm excited. Roll Tide.
Isaac from Mobile giving us his thoughts on the show. We grabbed this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steve, it's Blake calling back in.
Blake. So as we're getting ready to watch the plane, touchdown in Tuscaloosa, the plane that's carrying the new Alabama head coach, Kalen Deboer of Washington. What's going through your mind right now?
What's going through my mind is, hey, man, Coach Saban is sticking around. That means he's still going to have his hand in things as far as coaching staff, and recruit. Man, I'm good with it.
Look, Blake, when I heard from Reese Davis in the interview that Saban will have an office above the stadium. He's still going to be able to chew people out when he wants to. I think Saban's going to have a role kind of like, I guess, football operations coach. They'll create some type of a role for him.
Yes. And, Steve, a couple of more things, if you'll let me get them in. Do you think this will bring players back into the fold that were thinking about walking away?
I think it does. I think, number one, this gives you a shot to get Ryan Williams, the 5-star wide receiver commit, back on board. It gives you a shot to possibly get Isaiah Bond out of a transfer portal. But I think what's been cool is a lot of guys, a lot of older players on the team have stepped up and have talked to a lot of these young guys and have said, stay with it. Don't jump ship. Stay together. We're so close to what we want, which is a national championship. Don't leave the ship. And I got to give a lot of credit to a lot of these older guys, Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, a lot of these older players. They have been galvanizing, getting these younger players to understand, do not jump ship.
Because if Coach Saban believes in this, Coach, I'm going to ride with it.
I mean, Coach Saban had a hand in Kalen Deboer getting in here, and the godfather of college football, Jimmy Sexton, had a hand in Kalen Deboer getting in here.
Like I said, if the GOAT believes in it, I'm not going to doubt it.
There we go,
and
Blake.
One more thing, Steve.
Go ahead.
Do you think this opens the door now, more so now, just blows it wide open for Ty Simpson to get the starting job?
That will come down, man, to spring ball, Blake. And this is going to be the most intriguing spring ball we've seen in a long time. This is going to come down to spring ball and to see which quarterback's the real cream.
Well, thank you, Steve. Keep up the good work, man.
Appreciate Blake calling in there to the show. We take this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Derek from Omaha.
Derek, man, how we feeling? How we doing?
I'm doing way better than I was, man. Hey, I want to say this. You know, Tobias from Fresno beat me to the punch. But Nick Saban has a bunch of Mercedes-Benz car dealership, and I think that'll help with the NIL situation since, you know, Deboer, he's good with the NIL thing. And if you look at it, if you look at Deboer and Saban have the same career trajectory, with the exception of Saban being in the going to the NFL, because you know, Deboer, he started out in an NI whatever that's called, and then he went to Fresno. You know, he did his thing there. You know, he went to Washington. He did his thing there. Now he's on to Alabama, which is kind of similar to what Nick Saban did with going to Akron and then going to Michigan State and, you know, and then LSU and so on and so forth. I think that's interesting. But I'm excited about this hiring because it's ushering a new philosophy. You know, one of the things that Saban is guilty of was loyalty, blind loyalty. You know, now with this new cat coming in, Deboer coming in, hey, there's no loyalty. I mean, not saying there's no loyalty, but everything's open. He's going to have to see what's really going on.
Everything must be earned.
Yes, everything must be earned. I don't know you from Adam, so I don't know how you get down. So everything's going to have to be open now, and I think that's going to cause real competition. The real people are going to stand out, and the ones that ain't with it, you're gonna fall behind. So I'm very excited about that. But lastly, do you know this man, while in Washington, beat Texas twice? In the Alamo last year and this year. And both of them were, excuse my French, ass whoopings. Really, on paper, really. But and then he beat Oregon twice. I mean, come on, man. This was the exact hire that we needed. And I just tell, Crimson Tide Nation, man, just be patient. Let's look and see Let's look and see how he gets down. Saban's still going to be there to put his imprint on things. And as far as, Isaiah Bond and all that, I'm like, dude, how can you leave and you just became a legend? Come on, man. And that wide receiver, that decommit, I'm hearing stories from my brother in Florida that he I'm not saying he recommitted or whatever, but he's listening. This is what my brother in Florida told me. I don't know if it's true or not. He was trying to make me feel good or not. I don't know. You probably know more than me, but I'm excited about this, man. I'm excited about this, and being that it's the 12 team playoff, we have a little wiggle room. With one or two losses, maybe. So I'm excited about this. I say roll Tide, and thank you for bringing this information to us, Steve. And you take it easy, brother.
Appreciate Derek from Omaha calling in on a Friday to the show. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
How you doing, Steve? This is Jerry McCullum from Gary, Indiana. First of all, Happy New Year. And I'm a longtime Alabama fan. My cousin played for Alabama in 2008, Rashad Johnson. So I'm a longtime Alabama fan. I want to tell Nick Saban, thank him for all that he done for Alabama from the time he got here, 2007, and that I wish him and Miss Terry the best on their retirement. And I called, I think, after Texas lost, and I told you that usually I've been watching, all Alabama teams through the years, that after about 5 or 6 games, then Saban has them guys ready to play the last 6 because he's looking at the SEC championship and then the national championship. And if you, and I know you watched the defensive team, they always gel and come around at the time when it's championship time. So with the new coach, wish him the best. I hope he can continue to win tradition at Alabama, and that the team will not jump ship and go someplace else, get this guy a chance, and let's see what he can do, and then go from there. Also, I want to touch on this Michigan game that center, Sot McLaughlin. Now, the guy, the comedian Brown that's on Alabama Standard, he said something that registered. This guy had 5 bad snaps, and all of them was at the time when we were going down to score. And he said, somebody better watch that guy. And then the next day, he jumps into the transfer portal. So that looks kind of shaky to me. But Alabama fans, Steve, love Alabama, always will. And for your show, man, keep it up. Good work. And have a blessed evening.
Appreciate Jerry calling in from the heartland, Indiana, taking time to be a part of the show here on a Friday. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
I'm Quasi Perry from Houston. I'm a Texas A&M Aggie, and I got some great stuff to say.
Go on ahead.
Yeah, so let me tell you, I follow college football, not just the SEC, but I follow like all of it. Let me tell you something about this coach. His offensive schemes and also his OC, I think it's Grubb, OC Nate Grubb, with their formation shifts and things like that, and what they do is going to bring some new razzle dazzle to the SEC. So look, I was there for the Texas A&M versus Alabama game when y'all came back to our stadium after we beat y'all. Right, that was a high-scoring game, and that's when Nick Saban kind of knew he had to start going to the spread offense. That was like a huge sea change for the SEC. I'm telling you, what he is going to bring with his offense is going to be crazy, right? It's going to be good. And I'm telling you, Ryan Williams, you need to stay, bro. Look, so I got ties with Mobile, right? I used to go to South Alabama, and I do some work there. So, Ryan, if you're hearing this, listen and stay, because look what he did with that trio of wide receivers in Washington with Odunze McMillan and the other guy, Polk. You're going to eat in this offense, bro. You're going to eat, man. I'm trying to tell you. I know that you was thinking about A&M, and I love that you came here, but, bro, stay with them, man. another thing, my son, one of the top, young QBs coming up. He's got a, 50-mile-per-hour arm. He throw that stuff on the rope. So he's born in Gainesville, but I'm an Aggie. So there's two schools that I'm looking at him for in the future. It's Texas A&M and Florida. But guess what? If Coach is still around, man, now Bama's up there, man. You know what I'm saying? I just texted him, man. He's ready to go. I'm trying to tell you, I got a real dog. And also, don't forget about this as well. You know your college football history. Nick Saban started at Kent State where he played, right? There was a coach that convinced Nick Saban, right, not to play baseball, right, and to come on as a GA. That coach wound up winning the championship with Washington. He's called the Dog Father. Look that up, right? So if you don't think there's some sentimental stuff with that too, then you don't know college football. Bama, y'all got somebody great. Nick Saban's going to be there to make sure everything goes smooth with recruiting. Man, y'all got a coach in y'all hand. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate the call right there. Coming out of Houston, Texas to the show here on a Friday. Kalen Deboer is the guy for Alabama football, the 28th head coach for your University of Alabama Crimson Tide to usher us into the post-Nick Saban era once again. Deboer's plane is set to touchdown pretty soon if it hasn't already touched down at the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport. His introductory press conference as the new head coach of Alabama football will be tomorrow, that being Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time. But some super chats to get to right now. We're going to start off with the legend himself, the man Jimmy Cash Money Bucket Clay with the $17 donation. Dropping that in there. And then we got Tony Miller. Miller time. Tony Miller with a $20 donation. And we got Jason Haywood with a $5 donation. Putting that love in there. And then Dexter Wright follows up with a $5 donation. Appreciate all of you guys helping us out right here on the show, talking Bama football. Call topic goes to one Isaiah Bond, the marquee wide receiver, rising junior, who did file paperwork earlier today to put himself into the NCAA transfer portal. Bond, one of the top receivers for Alabama this past season, who became a legend, as we all have talked about, made the iconic 4th and 31 catch from Jalen Milroe in the back of the end zone in the Iron Bowl to beat Auburn 27-24, the play nicknamed Gravedigger. Big play there from Isaiah Bond, but filed the paperwork to put his name in the transfer portal. Hopefully, he removes his name from that after seeing who Bama just brought in as the new head coach. But we'll see what happens. We're going to take a break here, folks. When we get back, we dive into what could happen now that Deboer is in here. How many coaches on the current staff will he keep? Does he bring his staff in from Washington? We'll lay down that format right after this. We're out here at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa. Oh yeah, this. Oh, man. Gotta get this. Gotta get one of these right here. Can't rock that Bama without this shirt right here, fresh polo. You gotta also rock the all pink, like Kanye West right there. Keychains, gotta get you some keychains. University of Alabama keychains. I'm telling you, if you are a die-hard Alabama fan and you're looking for some big-time apparel, this place has got everything. We're talking shirts, shoes, sweatshirts, hoodies, cups, mugs, keychains. If you're just a Tide fan that has an itch to get more apparel, get more swag in your game, you come right here at Alumni Hall in Tuscaloosa, right here in Midtown Village. And also you can shop online. The link is in the description to get your gear right here at Alumni Hall. We also have new, fresh, exclusive TDA gear you can get right now at Alumni Hall. That's in-store or online. Hit that link in the description and search Touchdown Alabama to view all of the available gear here. Hurry and get yours before they're sold out.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people. We're back rocking and rolling into the action. From the break on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show. Number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Kalen Deboer, the new head coach for your Alabama football program. People are already gathering at the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport. That's the plane of Kalen Deboer getting ready. Touchdown in Tuscaloosa. Appreciate you guys. Continue to hit that subscribe button. Tap that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Give us a thumbs up right here on the show. Make this your spot here for all things Bama football. But John, topic 2, here's the big one. So, part 1 of Greg Burns' responsibility as athletics director. Get the new coach in here, right? Check that off the list. He's done that with Kalen Deboer. So now, you go part 2 here, and that's who do you keep on the current staff? Who does Kalen Deboer bring in with him from Washington to be a part of the program at Alabama? So that's the move now. What's next? Part 1's done for Greg Byrne. Part 1's done. But what's next? And so the question we're asking ourselves is, what does Kalen Deboer do? Does he bring a lot of his staff with him from Washington to Alabama? I mean, you would think with Deboer being an offensive mind, does he bring Ryan Grubb, his OC from Washington, with him? Does he bring the wide receivers coach, last name Shepard, the guy really good? Does he bring him with him? Does he bring his offensive line coach from Washington that helped the Huskies win the Joe Moore Award? Does he bring that guy with him? You have to ask these questions, right? And if that does come to fruition, if he does bring all 3 guys, well, one guy, Shepard, that'll be just great because Alabama's previous wide receiver coach, Holman Wiggins, he's already at Texas A&M. If you bring in Ryan Grubb as the OC, does that mean that Tommy Rees is out the door? Or do you hold on to Tommy Rees, make him a quarterback's coach because he's already got this chemistry with Jalen Milroe? You kind of have that question there. Of course, if you bring in the offensive line coach, you're telling Eric Wolford, hey, take stage left, which I don't have any disagreement on that if that was to happen. So it's, does Kalen Deboer bring his offensive staff, when you talk his O-line coach, his wide receivers coach, his offensive coordinator with him to Alabama from Washington? That's a big move there, and especially something for Greg Byrne to consider. And you have to look at, of the coaches already on staff at Alabama, who do you keep? Like, who needs to be retained? And I got this list right here. I think first and foremost, if I'm Greg Byrne, I'm retaining T-Rob. You can't let T-Rob walk after a while. You keep Travaris Robinson. You bump up his pay. You make him the defensive coordinator. You allow him to continue coaching defensive backs, but you keep T-Rod. He's a guy that this whole program respects. The defensive players respect him. The offensive players respect him. Incredible recruiter. These young kids, they vibe with him. Like I said, he's got defensive coordinator experience going back to South Carolina from 2016 to 2020. So you can't afford to lose T-Rob. You can't afford to. He's got these kids recruiting on lock. He's keeping these kids already in the program together. You got to keep T-Rob on staff. That's number 1. Number 2, I think you got to keep Robert Gillespie. What he's done with these running backs, he's been solid with them. He's been sound coaching them, sound developing them, sound recruiting them. You got to keep Robert Gillespie on staff as the running back coach. That's number 2. Number 3, you got to keep Joe Cox on staff. What he's done with these tight ends, recruiting them, developing them, molding them, you got to keep Joe Cox on staff. So that's 3. T-Rob, Gillespie, Joe Cox, you got to keep them. Now, some may say you got to keep Freddie Roach on staff. I'm kind of in the middle about Freddie. And I like Freddie. Good recruiter. But we haven't quite seen the monster development coaching in terms of defensive linemen from Freddie Roach. So I'm kind of in the middle on Freddie. Though some may say you want to keep Freddie, I'm kind of in the middle there when it comes down to Freddie. Now, Tommy Rees is the name where you kind of want to put an asterisk by, because it's like, if Deboer brings in Ryan Grubb, the OC that he had at Washington, there's no room for Tommy Rees. Unless you do something that you did last year. Last year, you made Kevin Steele just a DC. He wasn't a position coach. He was just a DC. And you had Robert Bala coach the inside linebackers. That was his spot right there. So do you do something where if you bring in Ryan Grubb, all he would have to do is call the plays. He wouldn't have to coach the quarterbacks. You would just have Tommy Rees coach the quarterbacks and recruit. You could do something like that. But would Deboer be open to doing that? That's the only reason why I would kind of have an asterisk by Tommy Rees's name. Because there is some value with him. You could have him continue the development and the continuity he's got with Jalen Milroe, along with recruiting, but it all comes down to, does Ryan Grubb come in here? If, of course, you look at Robert Bala as your inside linebackers coach, I think you need to keep him, continue that continuity with him. I know Georgia Tech is trying to come after Robert Bala. My thing is you want to keep him here too, because that's another California connection you got in recruiting Robert Bala from Oceanside, California. So those are just some names there that I would keep. I would look at keeping T-Rob, number 1, keeping Robert Gillespie, keeping Joe Cox, keeping Robert Bala, Freddie Roach, I'm kind of on the fence about. Eric Wolford, you just exit stage left with that right there. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how it boils down to. But there's a decision that's got to be made. Who does Deboer bring in here? Who does Alabama need to keep? We'll see what Greg Byrne comes up with there. But we take our final break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. When we get back, we wrap things up with this discussion, and that being you've got Coach Saban. Never mind, my bad, not the final discussion. We're going to go to calls. Thank you, John. We're going to continue taking more of your calls. We get to the phone lines. We take more of your calls right after this.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Marvin Constant, All-SEC linebacker and 1999 SEC champion. You are listening to In My Own Words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
This is Chris Rogers, 2009 national champion. You are listening to the baddest, when I say the baddest, sports show in the state of Alabama. In my own words, you know, yours truly, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Don't touch that dial.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, folks, we're back rocking and rolling into the action from the break on a Friday. Hottest show on the streets, dropping your Bama football news. The dawn of a new era. Kalen Deboer, the new head coach, touching down in Tuscaloosa with the plane at the T-Town Regional Airport. Got his introductory press conference tomorrow, 1 p.m. A lot of excitement going on right now. A lot of excitement. Gotta show some love to Daryl Sanderson with a $20 donation, putting that love in there. And then my man DP Don Parker walks in here with a $5 donation. Appreciate that coming from Daryl Sanderson and Don Parker. Gonna go to the phone lines to grab your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be made known, 205-448-1358. You're live on the show. What's happening, how we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Jack from Savannah.
How we feeling?
Steven, how you doing this evening, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, I know it was kind of weird at first on Wednesday. Nick Saban announcing the retirement, and then we're all like waiting on a blood test, trying to figure out who the next coach is going to be. But it's Kalen Deboer. I'm excited about this. Very good offensive mind. Home run hire on paper. Want to see it come to fruition on the field. Saban will have an office upstairs to still help people out. This is good.
Guess what? I want another coach, but I'm content with this guy. And he won me over by one thing. He wasn't scared to go to the edge. Lanning, Stark, Kiffin, all of them scared to follow Nick. I like DeBoer because he's not scared to take a chance. So I'm impressed with that. And I also impressed with his offensive play calling. I know him and his OC was calling plays, but every time I see Washington, I've seen him play 3 times, and their receiver was always open. So I like that part. Now I have to worry about one thing: who is his defensive coordinator going to be? That's what I'm concerned about. Because you can score a lot of points.
Now, Jack, the honorable thing would be Travaris Robinson. Bump him up, make him the defensive coordinator. Yep. Now, of course, there's feelers out there. Some people are thinking, do you go to Georgia and bring back Glenn Schumann? Do you go to Iowa and get Phil Parker from Iowa? There's feelers out there, but I think the honorable move would be to bump up T-Rob to D.C.
You know something, too, Stephen? I'm going to be a little petty right now because I'm not an Auburn fan at all. Respect the players. But guess what? It'd be real nice if that Cadillac pull up the T-Town. And that would be a nice weekend for the whole week.
Man, whoa. If Cadillac pull on in here, this will be the first time in the history of Auburn where they wouldn't be able to roll the trees anymore.
You're right. Stephen, I want to thank you for taking my call. Buddy, you and your family have a blessed day and a blessed weekend, okay?
Absolutely. Zach calling in from Savannah, giving his thoughts here on the show. I mean, if Alabama was to really go out there and get Cadillac Williams, Auburn would not have a reason to roll Toomer's corner again. I mean, think about that for just a small fraction of a second. I don't think it happens. But boy, if you wanted to stick it to Auburn, would you do that? Man, just something to think about that. Before I get off on a weird, crazy tangent, we got cool call topic right here. And that being one, Ryan Williams, five-star wide receiver in the 2024 class that reclassified for 2024, once committed to Alabama, recently decommitted because of Nick Saban's retirement. With this news of Kalen Deboer as the guy, as the hire, as the coach, Bama's got a great shot at getting Ryan Williams back on board. Deboer, an elite offensive mind, wide receivers eat under him, tremendous play caller, especially if he brings his OC Ryan Grubb with him. This could be really fun. And then when you talk about the guys that have come through Alabama and have been first-round picks at wide receiver, I think this is a move to get Ryan Williams back in the fold here. If I'm Deboer, that's one of the first things I'm doing once the plane gets down. I'm reaching out to Ryan Williams, probably showing up at his house. Hey, we still got the stability. I'm the coach. Get on board here. Probably one of the first things I'm doing if I'm Coach Deboer. But we take this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Steven, this is Jimmy Clay.
Jimmy, the man himself. Jimmy, what's going on?
Oh man, it's been so emotional the past 2 days.
Jimmy, it has been. It's been a roller coaster ever since Wednesday at 4 p.m. when Saban shocked everybody announcing his retirement. But afterwards, when you hear Saban's not stepping away, he's just stepping to the side. He's got the office up there at Bryant-Denny. He had a hand in bringing in Kalen Deboer. He's still going to support the program. It makes you feel a whole lot better 2 days after the initial retirement announcement.
Yeah, but it's still just 17 years, man. 17 years. But anyway, I'm glad we got a new coach. I hope he does well. And you know me, man, I always have a very short conversation. But anyway, roll, Tide, roll. Take care, buddy.
Appreciate Jimmy Clay, Jimmy the Bad Man Clay, calling into the show, helping us out right here on a Friday. It is tough looking at, Saban no longer having the whistle around his neck, Saban no longer with the straw hat out there on the field, but he is still a part of the program, helping out the new era of Kalen Deboer here. But we take this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, how you doing, Steven? Happy New Year to you, brother.
Happy New Year to you.
This is Patrick. I'm calling from Birmingham, and I want to start off by saying I want to thank Coach Saban for 17 years of just tremendous football. What he did for the state. He did so much up in the enrollment at Alabama. He brought tons of the economic boom while he was here for the 17 years in coaching, and glad he's going to be around. I think that's a tremendous move by Athletic Director Byrne, and I want to commend him on his job too in the search, but also by keeping Coach Saban around to be there to kind of help, Coach Deboer and his adjustment coming into the South, being a new coach at Alabama, kind of showing him, who you need to keep on your staff or, keep around you. And one of the things I want to say, I heard Brock Hewitt, he was on the next round earlier with Jim Dunaway and Lance Taylor, and he said that he called it right then. He said no way that he said nothing against OC Grubb, but he said I think he said I know some stuff about him playing at Washington, working for Fox Sports. He said they're going to look to go get a head coach because of what happened with Jimmy Lake, the guy before Deboer got there. He was saying how they kind of made a mistake bringing in an assistant, and this time they wanted to go with a seasoned coach. So that's going to be huge for Bama if they're going to bring him down and Coach Shepard, the receivers coach. And one of the things I think they should do, and I think he's going to probably do it, he's going to have to keep T-Rob and Roach in some kind of way to keep them in the fold because they're so light with the players. Even if you have to bump him up and make him a co-defensive coordinator, but he can kind of show you. And I kind of liken that a lot to Petway. I don't know what you think about that. Petway was with almost every coach after Godfrey to help them on the staff and was also recommended by Athletic Director Greg Burns. So I think that's going to be huge. The guy's resume speaks for itself. He's been an outstanding coach. I like the hire, so, I'm looking forward to it. And I kind of want to get your thoughts, what you think about the hire and, kind of where you see the staff shaping up, coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Well, first off, Patrick, when I look at the hire, I like the hire. I really like this hire. Deboer has been a winner wherever he's gone, whether it's at an NAIA program like Sioux Falls, 3-time NAIA champion right there, came to Fresno State, did some good things at Fresno, and then when he got to Washington was a train wreck. It was bad. They were 4-8 when he got there. It was terrible. And then 2 years, he's turned that thing around. Washington's on fire. 25-3 in the 2 years under DeBoer. Last season, 14-1. wins the Pac-12 championship, got to the college football playoff national championship game. Deboer's a straight winner, offensive guru, worked his way up from receivers coach to quarterback coach to OC to head coach. Deboer, this is a home run. This is a very strong move here by Alabama. In terms of the staff, I see Alabama keeping T-Rob as the first name. I think they're going to keep T-Rob. I think they're going to keep Robert Gillespie. He's huge. I think you keep Joe Cox with the tight ends. And look at what you mentioned there about Freddie Roach, him and T-Rob kind of doing a co-DC thing. I wouldn't mind that. I think the only thing is, if you bring Grubb with DeBoer, do you let Tommy Rees walk out, or do you at least make him a quarterback's coach to some degree and keep that continuity there with Jalen Milroe? That would be a question. If DeBoer brings Grubb, do you let go of Tommy Rees?
You know, my opinion with that is I know that I think he probably would sit down and ask Tommy, you know, just me guessing, not knowing what they're going to do. Hey, do you want to do something, and would you accept a lesser role to keep you around with the job that you did, which is tremendous? What you did with this guy from week 2 up until week 14, after the USFF game, what you did with him, I mean, it was a tremendous job you did. So can we keep you around as a quarterback coach, because what you did was outstanding with him? You know, I hate that, you know, we lack depth where we couldn't move our center to a guard and then have a center that could snap the ball. But, you know, I wonder would Reese accept something like that, you know, moving to a different position that he brings his guy Grubb in. I do think they're going to have a long discussion about that, you know, and Tommy understands the business, man. That's why those guys are paid a lot. So I think he wouldn't have any ill will with that, because that's something that I don't think we kind of was expecting maybe at some point coach was going to leave. But when it just hits you like it hits you, you know, it's still kind of, you know, it was kind of devastating, man. So, you know, even though you've been anticipating this coming, and his daughter actually tweeted about this a couple of months ago, she thought her dad may leave if he won a natty. So I think that, you know, I'm pretty sure they're going to have that discussion. And one other thing I wanted to add in, his daughter is ranked 11th nationally as a softball player. And that came out today, too, that she may be coming down with him. And, you know, which Washington is a powerhouse just like Alabama. And I'm pretty sure Coach Merkel was blown away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I bet he was blown away when he found out Stephen about his daughter may come down with him and play softball.
I'm going to say this. If I'm Patrick Murphy, I'm getting on the phone.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Look, if I'm Patrick Murphy, I'm getting on the phone, because you haven't won a softball title since 2012. You haven't had the power you need to have in your lineup since Bailey Hempill left. If I'm Patrick Murphy, I'm getting on the phone.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir. You better believe it. And she's an elite recruit, and I'm pretty sure because they said one of the attractions to Washington was that he was only going to have to walk, you know, 100 yards to go watch her play. And I think down that way it's maybe like 400 yards away from the stadium, but at the same time it's still relatively close. So, you know, I think that's going to be a huge asset with him coming out here, bringing her in, you know, an elite player like that. And again, man, like I said, man, you know, I'm excited about everything. Love the work that you're doing, brother. Be blessed. I'm going to keep listening tonight. Everybody listen to the show. Smash the thumbs up. Get the likes up for Steven, and continue everything that you're doing, man. Appreciate you, brother. Roll Tide, man. Thanks, man.
Patrick calling out of Birmingham. Appreciate that right there. We got Siobhan Pompey with the $4.99 in the Super Chats. Appreciate Siobhan helping us out here on the show. All of you have been tremendous. All of you have been fantastic calling in. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Steven, this is Ryan from L.A. Man, it's a pleasure to talk with you.
Ryan, man, I'm doing well. You got the plane of Kalen Deboer touching down at the Tuscaloosa Regional Airport. You got fans on a bone out there waiting to meet him. How are you feeling right now?
I'm super excited. I guess I'm like the rest of the Bama Nation. You know, we were on pins and needles, and Greg Byrne did what he said he was going to do. He's going to get the coach in there fast, and probably a good thing he did, because it looks like a bunch of them were fixing to try to jump ship, and I was wondering if we were going to even have a team left for the coming year.
I mean, it was like waiting on the results of a blood test, but Greg Byrne got it done. And also, you got to give a lot of kudos. Jimmy Sexton's the godfather. The way that man was able to move those chess pieces around, get Sarkisian paid, get Mike Norvell paid, not have him come to Bama, get Dan Lanning paid, and then at the very end, have his client, Kalen Deboer, walk in here. You got to give a lot of credit to Jimmy Sexton. That man moved some stuff around fast.
Yes, he did. I had two observations to make. I watched Washington play Texas, and I'm thinking that, boy, it's probably a good thing that Holman Wiggins got out of the way when he did, seeing what's come to pass now, because those Washington receivers, man, if that ball got within, if they touched it, they caught that son of a gun. I mean, they didn't drop anything. They were just
I'm telling you, their wide receivers coach, last name Shepard, I'm hoping he comes with DeBoer. That dude develops receivers.
He needs to bring him with him. And another thing on the recruiting, DeBoer was a receiver in college and a pretty good one, even if it was at a small college. So I guess that's where he gets his offensive mind from. But, he needs to go down. He needs to meet with the team first, and then the second thing he needs to do is fly down to Saraland and talk to Ryan Williams, get him back shored up, get him back in the fold. And I'm just telling you, I'm excited, Stephen.
I mean, this is going to be one of the most exciting A-days, Ryan, coming up in a long time. This is everybody needs to pack Bryant Denny out this A-Day, because this is brand new, brand spanking new. Like going back to 2008 where it was new, it was Saban's first recruiting class, Mark Ingram, all those guys. You got to pack it out like that again, because this is a brand new regime.
Yeah, and one more thing, kind of on the recruiting front. And, there's not too many negative things you can say about Saban, especially when it came to recruiting. But one thing I think he might have rubbed some people in the state a little short with was, when you've got 4-star players in the state, why do you give a scholarship from taxpayers' money of the state of Alabama? Why do you give a scholarship to kids from Canada and Germany when you've got, the equivalent players right here in the state? I think he kind of rubbed a few people wrong with that, but maybe Coach DeBoer will put a little more emphasis back on the state of Alabama and the football players right here at home.
I mean, and he's going to have to, Ryan, especially with not just 2023, 2024, which those two classes, ton of talented players from the state of Alabama, but 2025's got some dudes in the state. 2026 has got some dudes. So these next couple of classes, this state of Alabama is chock full of talent for the picking, and you got to make sure you get all of those kids, or at least as many as you possibly can.
Yep. Well, Stephen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, man. I wish you the best. Roll Tide, and let's kick it this year. Let's pack the stadium out for A-Day. Show the coach and the nation as a whole that, hey, Alabama ain't dead. We got a new coach, but we're gonna keep right on rolling.
Appreciate Ryan calling in from LA, giving us his thoughts here on the show. Folks, I'm telling you, this show reaches across the landscape. New York, LA, Fresno, Mobile, Texas, everywhere. Everywhere, man. Everywhere. We got to give, we got to give a shout out Erica B. Airbrush Designer with a $5 donation. And Erica B. was the one that designed the In My Own Words cleats that are right here in studio. So gotta show some love to Erica B. Donating to the show right here. Unbelievable. Fantastic. Gotta love that. We're gonna take our final break here, folks. When we come back, we get into the conversation or discussion to wrap up of why it is so pivotal for Nick Saban to remain and be a part of the program in a different capacity. It may not be the coaching capacity, but why is it so pivotal to have Nick Saban remain at Alabama in this capacity? We'll talk about it after this.
I'm Malachi Moore, and you're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith on Touchdown Alabama YouTube channel.
Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
What's going on? This is Benny Bice. I'm the founder and owner of Touchdown Alabama. And you guys are supporting one of the only independent outlets covering Alabama football today. No other sports, no networks, just Alabama football. Roll Tide Roll.
All right, folks, we definitely appreciate all of you checking out the show today, donating, the conversations, the energy. Being able to spend time with all of you on the hottest show on the streets, number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA, the plane of Kalen Deboer, landed Tuscaloosa Regional Airport, the dawn of a new era. Deboer at 49 years of age, the new head coach for your Alabama Crimson Tide. Once again, he's got his introductory press conference tomorrow, 1 p.m. I will definitely be at that. Got my questions prepared to usher in the new coach, so we'll be at that. But final discussion here of conversation, folks. Coach Saban, even though he will not have the whistle around his neck and the headset on and the straw hat on, on the field from the coaching perspective anymore, after 17 tremendous years at the helm, it is special that he chose to not walk away, but just step to the side in a sense of still wants to support this program in any and every way he can. Have an office above Bryant-Denny Stadium to where he can still be a beacon of light, a beacon of wisdom, and a wealth of knowledge. This is so critical, y'all. He's going to have a chance to help a young coach learn how to navigate the SEC. In biblical references, Saban's being the Moses to the Joshua of Kalen Deboer in a biblical reference. In a biblical reference, Saban's being Paul the Apostle to young Timothy in a biblical reference. Dad's a pastor, so I got to give some biblical references here. So that's what Saban's doing in this sense with Kalen Deboer. It's awesome. It's awesome to see this. It's phenomenal to see this. And for him, like you guys mentioned, he could, from this perspective, work on putting more parameters on NIL. Helping players with NIL. He can help out with that. He can do more so things from a CEO mindset. Saban can do that now. So just having his mindset within the program, just having his personality, having the wealth of wisdom, of knowledge that he brings and that he's gotten from being around and being a part of Alabama football for 17 years and being able to pass that down to Kalen Deboer. Folks, I'm excited. I mean, this A-Day and having Saban a part of this A-Day coming up, goodness, tomorrow, having Saban a part of this introductory press conference of Kalen Deboer, like, I am energized right now. I mean, to see what's going to transpire, what's going to happen, how is this thing going to work here? It's about to be a phenomenal ride, a phenomenal experience. And for me, to be born in the final era, to be born in the final years of the Gene Stallings era, and then for me to grow up in the Deboer, in the DeBose, Franchione, Mike Price, Mike Shula era, and then for me to cover the entire era of Nick Saban, just find myself very blessed to be in the situation that I've been in. And now to be able to usher in Kalen Deboer and cover this era, it is about to be exciting for yours truly, but also you of the Alabama football family. So to have Nick Saban remain a part of this and bring the support that only he can bring, I am pumped up about that. But as always, folks, you want the best in news, notes, information, material on your favorite program, that being Alabama football. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio needs, check us out, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, iHeartRadio, Google Play. We got you covered there, folks. We appreciate all of you checking out the show today. All the calls, all the donations, all the likes, all the chatting, all the energy. Appreciate all of you for what you do here. Gotta thank my man John Ivory in the production studio, handling things from behind the scenes. And folks, as always, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing there to not be bored. You get yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. You get behind the new man, the new coach in Kalen Deboer for your Alabama football program. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen Smith, and you've been listening to In My Own Words.